Right now, the Warriors are watching the playoffs at home, and I gotta be honest, it feels like they're a long way from contending again. Steph is still one of the best players in the league, but Father Time has definitely caught up to Draymond and Klay. But I mean, only a couple years ago, we thought the same thing, and Steph proved us completely wrong.
Yeah, after making the finals for 5 straight seasons, the Warriors had gone 2 straight years without even making the playoffs. And people were starting to wonder, is the dynasty over? Maybe. Well, Steph answered that question by winning his 4th NBA title for the Warriors and getting finals MVP just as the cherry on top.
Before we talk about when Steph Curry absolutely took over the finals, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any new videos. So going into the 2021-2022 season, the Warriors were not in the best spot. During the 2019 offseason, Kevin Durant, of course, left to the Brooklyn Nets, and Klay Thompson was still going to take some time recovering from that ACL injury in the finals. KD, it was technically a sign-in trade, so they picked up D'Lo for basically nothing, so that's a nice pickup. I mean, D'Lo was coming off an all-star season. Wasn't really what they needed. They didn't need another guard, but at least it was like a future trade asset.
It was something.
Yeah.
It was better than losing him for straight up nothing.
But after starting the season 1 and 2, the Warriors' luck went from bad to just straight up awful. Steph broke his hand and would miss basically the entire season. And not surprisingly, a team led by Draymond Green, Eric Pascal, Marquise Chris, and a rookie Jordan Poole, they only won 15 games. To give the Warriors some credit though, they kind of immediately flipped D'Lo into Andrew Wiggins in a 1st-round pick. Amazing trade because Wiggins, disappointing career so far, but he was only 24 and still had potential. And you get a 1st-round pick for dealing out D'Lo.
I know D'Lo was just removed from that all-star season in Brooklyn, which he was very good in, to be fair, but sending out Wiggins and a 1st for him, lunacy. I know the Wolves felt like they were close because they had Cat and they were like, if we can just get him a solid point guard, maybe that'll help him take that next step. No. I'm sorry, no.
The trade didn't go well for the Timberwolves, but at least the draft lottery did. They got the 1st pick. They took Anthony Edwards. Warriors got the 2nd pick. They didn't need another guard. Didn't want LaMelo, so they took James Wiseman, who was a hype prospect out of Memphis.
Who sucks.
Terrible. I mean, he played like a couple years with them, did nothing for the title team we'll talk about. So big miss there for the Warriors.
And this is why you always draft on ability, not need.
Yeah.
Because you can trade ability. You can't trade need if he's got ability. And that's what Wiseman was. You just draft the best player. If you don't need him, flip him to someone else who does.
And then before the 2021 season could even start, Klay Thompson once again, just brutal luck. He suffers an Achilles injury just in like a random workout. Just a devastating injury for both Klay and the Warriors.
And the Warriors that season, they were much better. They went 39-33 in the pandemic shortened season. Steph was doing an absolute carry job this year. Had one of the best seasons of his career, averaged 32 points per game. He was as efficient as ever, finished 3rd in MVP voting, even though his team was only the 8th seed. And they definitely should have made the playoffs. I mean, they got beat by the Lakers in that play-in game where LeBron apparently saw 3 rims and somehow picked the right one. 1 in 3 chance. Good job, Bron. Top marks for that. But then you play the young as hell Grizzlies at home in your building. I know it's not the Roracle anymore, but you're still at home. You gotta be able to beat the Grizzlies in 1 game at home.
Oh yeah, they definitely should have won it. And as a Warriors hater, I was hyped they didn't because
it was beautiful. It was lovely.
It was amazing. 5 straight seasons making the finals, like we said in the intro, and now 2 straight seasons missing the playoffs entirely. I know Klay had been injured and everything, but it was kind of feeling like maybe the dynasty was over.
The world was healing.
Yeah, the world was healing. They were old. KD was gone. They didn't have a ton of depth. Sure, they had some nice young pieces, but it was feeling like, unless they acquired a superstar, I know Giannis was kind of rumored to the Warriors at the time, they were not going to win another title. At least that's what it felt like to me.
That offseason, though, again, credit to the front office. They didn't bring in another superstar level player, but they did have a really good offseason filling out the roster. They signed Gary Payton Jr. to a long-term deal after giving him some 10-day contracts. Selected Jonathan Kuminga with the 7th pick and Moses Moody with the 14th pick. I feel like at the time people thought Kuminga might have been a bit of a reach, but he's panned out pretty well. They also picked up Otto Porter and Bielika I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Yeah, I mean, he was good for them. Yeah, who knows how you pronounce it. It's something like that. I remember them saying it like that.
And they also brought back Iggy.
Yeah, they brought back Iggy. He didn't really do much for the team, but he was
their Udonis Haslem.
Yeah, he was their UD. He was a good, like, locker room presence type guy. And damn, like, as skeptical as I was, they came out the gates just firing. 21-4 to start the season. Steph was playing incredible. The emergence of Jordan Poole kind of just came out of nowhere. I know Jordan Poole looked promising some of those seasons when they were bad, but goddamn, he was playing well. And then Andrew Wiggins. Where did this come from? He was having the best season of his career by far.
I mean, you get the guy out of Minnesota. I know Minnesota's great right now, but at the time, they were like up there with the Sacramento Kings for being the dead end franchise in the NBA. A lot of people would say NBA Siberia, where like talented players just go to die.
And then they got Klay back in early January, and sure, he had a lot of rust, which is to be expected. You missed 2 full seasons, but getting him back, add another shooter, add another vet with experience, that was huge for them. And this Warriors team, a little bit controversial, had 3 All-Stars. Steph, obviously, he was going to be an All-Star. Andrew Wiggins was an All-Star starter?
Bullshit.
It was complete bullshit. But I guess like the voting or something is how it happened.
No, this is why fan voting is stupid.
Exactly.
Because you get dumb shit like this.
And then Draymond made the All-Star team. I mean, great defender, but he was averaging like 12 and 8, I think. But whatever. They got 3 All-Stars. They'd end up progressing a little bit towards the end of the season. A big part of that was Steph had that foot injury where he had a sprained ligament and a bone bruise when Marcus Smart dived at him. But even then, the Warriors still won 53 games, got the 3rd seed, and their path to the finals this year out west, not half bad.
No, not really. I mean, the Grizzlies had a great year, but they were obviously still really young. The Mavericks had Luka, but also young, didn't really have any playoff experience up to that point. The Nuggets, they have Jokic, obviously, but no MPJ, no Murray, so they weren't going to be a threat. So really, if you could just avoid the Suns, you had a pretty clear path to the NBA Finals.
In round 1, they matched up against the Nuggets. This was MVP Jokic, but like we just said, you're without Jamal Murray, you're without Michael Porter Jr. Steph, though, was also coming back from an injury. He hadn't played like the entire end of the regular season, so he was actually going to come off the bench to start this series. But the Warriors just dominated this series. Steph was great off the bench. In game 2, he had 34 points on 17 shots off the bench, which is just insane. And since the Nuggets were just so beat up, like they didn't stand a chance. They won game 4, but besides that, like they couldn't handle the 3 Splash Bros, because at this point you had Steph balling out, you had Klay who was starting to pick things up, and then like we said, Jordan Poole was just insane this year. So they easily took out the Nuggets in 5.
Round 2, they matched up with the Grizzlies. Game 1 went down to the wire, but the Warriors escaped with a 1-point victory thanks to a clutch 3 from Klay Thompson and a clutch steal by Steph poking the ball away from Ja. Grizzlies evened the series up in game 2, but after 2 great games from Steph back in the Bay, the Warriors are up 3-1. Grizzlies, though, they dominated game 5, but they eventually got closed out in 6. So the Warriors are off to the conference finals, matched up with Dallas after the Mavericks embarrassed might not be strong enough to talk about what they did to the Phoenix Suns, but they stomped out the Suns in the conference semifinals. But in the conference finals, credit to Golden State, they did a phenomenal job of neutralizing Jalen Brunson and Luka.
Yeah, Andrew Wiggins was just incredible on Luka. Brunson wasn't much of a factor either. And the Warriors, it wasn't just like Steph dominating or Poole or Klay. They had 6 players average double figures. This is another series that just wasn't that close. They took out the Mavs in 5. And they were back to the NBA Finals just like that. 2 seasons not making the playoffs. They make the playoffs again, and they just make the finals. It's what the Warriors do.
And we were pissed.
I was myself because I got to see the Warriors play the Celtics. I'm like, who the hell do I root for?
That's your 8th circle of hell.
It is. It really was. And in the NBA Finals, the Warriors immediately just came out cooking, especially Steph. He had 21 first quarter points, hit 6 threes. Credit to the Celtics, they did a good job of keeping up. They only trailed by 4 after the first, and they took a 2-point lead going into halftime. But in the third quarter, the Warriors dominated, poured in 38 points. Steph had 9. Andrew Wiggins actually led the Warriors with 12. And it felt like this game was over. The Warriors were up by 15 at one point. The crowd was rocking. We've seen so many games like that in the Bay. Like once the crowd gets going, the Warriors get on their run, it just kind of feels like the game is over, and it definitely felt like it for this game.
Especially during that third quarter. Third quarter Warriors have made a living just destroying teams, but credit to the Boston Celtics. They slowly chipped away at the lead, had a 9-0 run to cut the lead down to 3 early in the fourth quarter, and then Al Horford hits a 3 with just over 5 minutes left. That gives the Celtics the lead, and near the end of the fourth, Marcus Smart hits back-to-back threes, and just like that, it seems like the Warriors are headed for a 1-0 series lead with all the momentum in the world, and the Celtics march out of Golden State with a Game 1 win.
Yeah, Game 2 was kind of a similar story. Like first half was close, Warriors took a 2-point lead going to halftime, but this time though, like the third quarter Warriors said, no, we're not even gonna make this close. They outscored the Celtics 35-14 the third. Jordan Poole hit that half-court shot basically at the end of the third to give them a 23-point lead going to the fourth, and from there it was over. You're not coming back from that. Series tied 1-1. Not the best start for Golden State. Obviously, you'd like to be up 2-0, but a great response in Game 2.
In Game 3 in Boston, Steph was excellent. 31 points on 12 of 22 shooting, but Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Marcus Smart, goddamn, they combined for 77. And besides another great third quarter, the Celtics basically controlled the entire game. They'd win 116-100, so they're now up 2-1. From then on in the series, though, man, the Warriors dominated. Game 4, maybe the best game Steph's ever played.
Must win for the Warriors. You can't go down 3-1 unless you're LeBron. You're not coming back from that in the finals.
Gotta love how you throw a little asterisk.
I mean, I had to give the Warriors one shot here. I'm hyping them up all video. Celtics started hot. They took an 11-4 early lead, but the Warriors responded. They only trailed by 1 after the first. Steph had 12 first quarter points to lead the Warriors. A solid second quarter from the Celtics, gave them a 5-point lead going to the half. But in the second half, man, Steph he took over. Like this was a legacy game from Steph Curry. He hits 4 threes and scores 14 points in the third to give the Warriors a 1-point lead headed to the fourth. And then the fourth, he scores another 10 points. He hits a huge 3 in Derek White's face to cap off a 10-0 run for the Warriors. And finally, he'd seal the game at the line. 43 points for Steph, 10 rebounds, 7 of 14 from 3. Like he had some other great games in the finals. I mean, he scored 47 versus the Raptors in 2019. He had some games like in the high 30s against the Cavs back in the day. But this one just felt different. Like legacy on the line. Steph Curry just needs that finals MVP to kind of shore up his legacy. And he took over. He refused to let the Warriors lose this game.
Game 5, back in Golden State, the Warriors had all the momentum in the world, and they dominated early, led by 11 after the first, 12 going into halftime. Celtics had another big third quarter. It seems like a theme of this series. Having huge third quarters, so they took the lead back. Jordan Poole, though, another huge momentum shot, banking in a 3 to give the Warriors a 1-point lead entering the fourth. And they carried that momentum on with a 10-0 run, and they'd win 104-94 to go up 3-2 in the series. So now we're back in Boston for Game 6, and the Celtics started out well. They were up 12-2 early on, and then the Warriors go on a 21-0 run in the NBA Finals on the road.
I mean, the Celtics had a 6-point lead at the start of that run, and then like blink of an eye, a couple minutes later, they're now down 15. It's kind of over from there. Like they made it interesting a couple times, but once again, the second half, Steph just took over. 22 second half points. He hit that one deep ass 3 midway through the third to put the Warriors up 22. Did that celebration where he pointed out his finger, said ring me. Right. And like I said earlier, this was the thing Steph needed. He needed that finals MVP. He needed that series in the finals where there was no questions. 2015, you can say, oh, well, you know, the Cavs were injured and Iggy won finals MVP.
And then the other two ones say, well, yeah, he was great, especially in 2018, but you know, he had Kevin Durant alongside him as his teammate. This was the first series where he was the unquestioned best player on his team and showed up when his team needed him.
So what do you guys think? Did this series make Steph the greatest point guard of all time? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving a like, and hey, while you're here, check out some of our other content as well. And don't forget to subscribe to Synthetic Sports.